Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to episode 9 of Hilda. So since we've come back from this, it's been kind of back and forth on this for me. Some have been pretty good, and then there's been one that hasn't been as good. And it's interesting. And I'm definitely very interested to see where this goes because of that. I feel like when I originally dropped it, I just dropped it at the wrong point before things started really getting interesting. But we'll see how it goes all together. And again, as I've said before, I don't expect every episode to be great or anything. I just want to be mostly entertained, you know? Last time we had a curse, basically, and it was horrifying, and they drove off a cliff, and my anxiety can't handle that. But everything was set right in the end, and it's just like, Jesus. That was a lot. But yeah, I'm definitely interested to see where this goes. Definitely interested to see what they do next. And hopefully, we end up enjoying this enough that after the season, there's 13 episodes this season. We'll most likely get through them all at this point. Hopefully, I enjoy enough to continue on to season 2. And then eventually see the movie that I kind of teased for the April Fool's Day video. Hopefully we are able to get to that. I do want to. Just to make up for teasing people with the April Fool's Day video in the first place. But yeah, I'm definitely interested at this point. It's not like a lot of other shows, and I think that's what really, like, I think that's the big thing for me that, like, throws me off, is that this show is very different from something like The Owl House, or Amphibia even, or Ghost of Molly McGee, or whatever, where it's like, all these other shows have very notable characters who really stand out and have very distinct character and personality and everything, and it's like, then you have Hilda, and it's just like, yeah, that's not really the case here. The characters are super simple, I guess is a good way to put it. And yeah, they have distinctive personality, but, like, not too much. Like, honestly, there's really not that much different between Hilda and Frida. The only thing you could say is Hilda's a little more adventurous. David stands out a little more. But honestly, none of the three of them really have, like, a huge presence compared to the protagonists of these other shows. You look at Owl House, and it's like they have such massive presence that it's blinding. Even Amphibia, the characters hold their own really well. Even if I'm not the biggest fan of the main character, Anne, she still holds her own as a noteworthy character. Ghost of Molly McGee, obviously, Adventure Time, anything else, really. But then you get to this one, and it's like, I'm not invested in them. I'm just really not. I'm more invested in the ghost girl. Like, she did more for me than any of the main characters have. Hell, kind of the same with the librarian. And she only had, like, what, 2 small scenes? It's just... I think that's what I think that's what throws me off with this series, because almost any animated series you watch, the main characters are made to stand out. They're made to like have noteworthy personality and character and depth to them, to where they feel like they're a big part of this series, more so than your random side or background characters. But with Hilda, the characters feel like they just blend in with everyone else. And that's probably what they were going for. But at the same time, they don't feel like main characters because of that. They just feel like random side characters in a way. They don't have that bombasticness that you kind of need for main characters to stand out. You watch pretty much any other animated series and you'll see that with its characters. The MCs will always have more presence. Even if you like other characters more, the MCs will always have more presence than the other characters. Ruby, MLP, for anime's sake, you could say Dragon Maid or something. Other characters will still be great and enjoyable and fun, but the main characters, the major ones that are like always there, they will always just really stand out. And that's not the case with this series. So I'm sorry for kind of rambling on about this. And again, I want to make it clear that there's a lot to enjoy about this series. That I'm not disliking it or anything as a whole. There's just a few things that don't really do it for me. And I just don't find the main characters as fascinating. Really, the stuff that's doing it for me in this so far, especially, is the more plot and character focused events. The stuff like, oh, there's this ghost girl who's giving David bad dreams, or Hilda basically curses David and her mother and causes them to just turn the show into a horror series. It's like that's the kind of shit that's interesting to me, where it just uses these characters in more interesting ways than they normally are portrayed in. They're used, and the characters themselves don't change much, but they're used to serve the story in a way that makes it fun to watch. You know what I mean? I'm not great at explaining shit. You guys know this. But yeah, hopefully we do really enjoy what's to come with this, though. Hopefully we get more episodes like the good ones we've had here. We'll see. In the meantime, though, we're just going to get this started and hope for the best. So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. I'm mixed on this episode. There's some things that are pretty good about it, and some things that are just kind of stupid. And some things that I just couldn't get into. So, funny how after I say in the pre-thoughts that Hilda and Frida aren't that different in personality and everything, they give Frida a more defined personality. Like, I swear she was not like this perfectionist character before. Like, that's not just me, right? Like, I never got those vibes from her. Maybe I missed something, or maybe I'm just not remembering from like the few episodes I watched the first time, the 5 episodes I watched the first time I went through the series, tried to go through the series. But it's like, at least in the few episodes I've watched since coming back to it, I swear I do not remember anything about her being a perfectionist. So it's like that just seemed like it kind of came out of nowhere. Like they gave her a character trait just to, develop her, but also like 9 episodes into a 13 episode season, that feels weird. And then, like, a lot of this episode was just like dumb. Like the wrestling, you have to wrestle the ghosts. It's like, that's dumb. That's really dumb. The fact that Frida is like, she's so dependent on this ghost cleaning her room that just the little tiniest example that it doesn't, it just throws her off and just ruins her life. That's too much. I'm sorry. That's a little silly to believe that the ghost not cleaning her room for her would throw her off that completely. And the thing is, like, I've known perfectionists and stuff, and the perfectionist would not be making a mess of the room in the first place, I feel, a lot of the times. And if they were truly intent on being perfect, they would clean it themselves. Like, she wouldn't just let it stay a mess just because the ghost wasn't cleaning it for her anymore. Like, seriously. If she were really a perfectionist, she would be cleaning it, and then there wouldn't be a problem. So I'm just, I don't know, it just feels confused. Like, it's trying to paint her as this, like, insane, neurotic perfectionist, but by no means of her own accord. Because it seems like she's like, oh, I'm a perfectionist, but, I didn't actually do anything. I'm not actually being a perfectionist. It's just this ghost who is being a perfectionist for me. And it's like, what? But then there was some good imagery here with like the ghosts popping out initially. And I like the entire thing about things not being resolved by the end of the episode, and actually our friend group splitting up and, having a fight. Because one, that does happen. Like, friends definitely fight, and they will come to odds with each other for one reason or another. And so seeing that here, it's like, and to see that it's not just resolved in the course of one episode is important, I feel. Because a lot of shows will just have it be resolved super quickly and super easily, and that's not realistic. And it makes a lot of people have this false hope that it can be solved that easily. But then, like, you also have, like, you kind of find out what happened to the book, but you don't know what's actually happening. This little creature comes out from underneath her bed, steals another book, and then just goes back under, and there's a flash of light as if it, like, entered some kind of portal or something. Yeah, I have no idea what that's about, but it's interesting. I'll give it that. The stakes for this just seemed like they just didn't work. Because again, it's just, the stakes for this episode was that Frida feels her life is being flipped upside down because a ghost isn't cleaning her room anymore. She feels like she's not living up to her perfectionist what would the word be? Expectations, but she didn't do anything in the first place. Like, she's not like, nothing is, it's not about what she did. This entire conflict is about what this ghost did and eventually didn't do. That should not be affecting her feeling on her own perfectionism. That just doesn't make sense. So for that to be the central conflict and to cause this rift between the friends just kind of does not work. It's like the ideas here, I could see what they were trying to go for, but it just did not work. It didn't make sense. It was stupid. So I'm very mixed on this episode, but it is leaning more towards negative. Because if the entire conflict and everything, not just with the episode, but the clearly consistent conflict that's going to start with their argument and everything, if all of that is predicated on something that just does not work at all from a storytelling or writing perspective, then it kind of falls flat. And it's like, if you're trying to build up this storyline with the friends kind of breaking apart for a bit, you have to make it a solid, like, storyline. You can't just have it, like, be predicated on something that's not just false or anything. Like, you could, honestly, that would have made more sense to have it be based on, like, some false ideas. Like, maybe Frida thought Hilda stole the book. Or something like that. Something like that would have worked a little better, but having it, again, affect her perfectionist attitude it doesn't make sense. It doesn't work. It ruins the episode for me and keeps it from being truly anything really good. And the good stuff in it, the imagery and the fact that it does tackle this idea of the friends breaking apart for a time, it's like all of that doesn't fix the issues. It doesn't, like, stop the issues from being, like, notable here. So maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me, but this episode irritated me. It just has, its issues are too notable, in my opinion. But I'd love to hear what you think. So tell me in the comments below, what are your thoughts on episode 9 of Hilda? And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.